Everyone, welcome back to Sticks and Stones Wood Carving. I'm Kevin, and today we're going to make a wood spirit on this really nice piece of Western red cedar. This is one of the pieces that Jordy at Carving Fusion gave me to try out. I've never carved it before, but I've seen him carve it, and it looks like it carves really nice. I do know one thing. Oh, look at that. Yeah, with the knife, that grain is so tight, this is going to make a really nice carving, I can tell already. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to make a wood spirit out of this. Maybe we'll do a wizard or something, and whatever we come up with, I'm going to donate to Jordy's challenge over there that he's got going. So we'll see what we can come up with. Get your hand tools out and your Dremel. I'm going to use the Dremel. I'm going to start with a saber tooth bit. This right here is the green coarse bit. I'm going to use a little bit of power on this. It'd probably be nice if I just carved this whole thing with hand tools too. But anyway, we're going to try this piece out and see what we can come up with, and we'll donate that to Jordy's challenge. So if you haven't checked out his channel, go over there to Carving Fusion, see what he's got going on, and you might get a chance to win. Well, this will be one of the prizes. When we're done with it, we'll see if it comes out okay or not. And he's giving away I think he said 11 prizes the other night in his live, so go check that out, and we'll get to carving this and see what we can come up with for that challenge. Okay, here we go. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the face around down in here. Probably within like this area here, so we can give him some type of hat or something, and maybe come up with some kind of wizard or something like that. I'm going to draw a little bit here just so I get an idea about where I want to put things. And this right here will be his eye bridge, and this right here will be his nose. All right. About where we're going to start that. And that's all I'm going to do for this. I might bring this down just like that. It's a little bit off center the way I cut it, but I'm going to start the dust collector up, see if we can even all this out, and we'll go from there. Okay, I got my saber tooth bit in here. This is the coarse bit like I've been using for the past couple of videos. It's the green one, and we're gonna cut the top of his forehead in here. And actually this is more of the brim of his hat. I guess we'll make a wizard here. I've been trying to get Jordy a wizard for a while, and it's ironic that for his giveaway I'm probably going to carve a wizard. So if this one comes out half decent, he's probably not going to want me to give it to the challenge and take it himself. But I do owe him a wizard, so don't worry, Jordy. If this one comes out okay, I'll make another one, and that one can be yours. So I'm cutting the eye bridge in here, just starting off simple with some basic dimensions. I will try to keep everything in the camera. You know me, I'm always pulling out of the camera, but I am trying to be more and more aware of that. Let's cut the bottom of the nose in here. At least put a line there so we know where we're going to start. Take a little bit of wood out of there. Not going to make things too deep right in the beginning, but we'll make sure he has some good depth. As we go, we'll just keep adjusting. We're going to cut a little bit of a corner here and there. That'll start twisting the nose upward a little bit, and then over here we'll take this little smile line corner and establish that. Just like that. Okay, now coming up here to figure out where I want everything. Let's dig that up just a bit. I'm going to start my corners so I get an idea about where the top of the nose is going to be and how thin I want it. So I'll put two lines like that, and then I can start figuring out where I want to put his eyes. So I'm just making like a small V cut here with the tip of my burr. Okay. If we're doing this with a knife, it would be a tip cut. It would be that V cut that we always take out of the corners. Okay. Pretty simple. And we can come right about here. I'm going to draw a line across. And that right there is going to be where his eyebrows will be, from the eye channel down here and up. Extend this over just a little bit and get a little bit of depth at the end also. Okay, we're going to come up here to the forehead, and we're going to push that down to that little line that we cut where his eyebrows stop. I'm going to angle this back just a little bit. We're not going to go too crazy yet. Just going to kind of get it smooth and so it transitions together. And dig his hat out a little bit more. And I'm really liking this cedar. Yeah, this cedar's going to carve up really well, I could tell. It's not as... I mean, you smell cedar when you carve it. I'm used to carving what the cedar that grows around here is red cedar, but most of it's juniper. But it's very potent and very irritating to carve. This isn't half as irritating. I mean, I smell cedar. It smells really good. But it's not as potent as the cedar around here as far as the smell. So it's not half as irritating. I mean, I have my dust collector going and everything. But even with that and a mask on when I carve the cedar in my area, it's very irritating, you know, to your nose and your throat. This is actually a real pleasure to carve. I'm really liking this cedar. I think we're going to get a really decent carving out of it. Okay, so we frame the face in a little bit with those two cuts on the side. Let's start forming a bit of a mustache here. And we're going to give him a little lip under his mustache. So I don't want him to look too happy, but I don't want him to look really sad either. So it's just going to have a natural flow to it. Again, not going super deep yet, but we won't have to. It's not always about carving deeper. It's about carving deeper where you need to be deep to get your shadows, and you'll end up with a good carving. Sometimes going deeper isn't always the answer. For instance, you could be doing eyes and go a little bit too deep and really mess them up. Okay, so if your wood spirit's not looking right, it's not always a good idea to carve deeper. Carve deeper where you need it, where you want to get that shadow, where you want to have things pop out, stick out, be shaded, things like that. But as long as you can get his nose to pop off and his forehead and everything, you know, depends on how the carving looks. You know, if the carving's looking good and the depth is good, keep it. You know, you don't have to always try to go so deep that you're going to cut your carving in half, you know. I know Jordy picks on me a lot when he always says I don't carve deep. Well, I don't need to carve deep. You know, if the wizard looks good, I'll be happy. You know, I don't need to carve him super deep because then I don't want his dimensions to look messed up. If I carve his nose, for instance, too deep, it should be half on and half off the face. If I carve it too deep, and then it's just not going to look as nice to me. If I was going to do realistic features, I definitely would have to stick with realistic depths also. But if you're carving fantasy stuff, then, well, yeah, you can go as deep as you want. But I tend to kind of lighten up on some of the depth in areas, and other areas I like really deep. You know, it depends on what I'm carving, actually. So, it's not always a rule that's set in stone, in other words. Like right here, I want shadow, I'll go a little deeper around where I'm putting bags under the eyes, or his mustache, or in the corners of the nose, all that stuff, you know. But definitely don't have to be super deep everywhere. Sometimes less is more in a carving. So we'll see how he turns out, and we'll try to get him some nice depth, of course, because this is a nice piece of wood. He's going to hold some shadow really nice. Now right over here in the corners of the nose, that would be a place I'd go deep, okay. But again, only so deep because I don't want it to go so far in that it's just going to look weird to me. When I want him, I have a certain look in mind. And I want his nose to be a nice nose and stand out really good, but I don't want it to be so stuck out that it's going to mess up his features underneath it. when I want him to look kind of just average and normal, and not, you know, a fantasy crazy type. Not really realistic, but not exactly go crazy with it either. You'll see what I mean. Right here under the nose too, we're gonna use this point to start a little bit of a nostril. But for now, I'm not going to do too much there, and an important point we're going to talk about later is a little bit more you can do with this nose to make that look a little bit better. Right now I'm just using the point to kind of shape the nose in. And right here, coming down on the sides, you see that right there? I want to be able to have the ball at the end and the nostrils flare out from the ball. Okay? And when I put this down and we start talking with hand tools a little bit, I'll cover that a little bit more, but there's definitely a couple more things we should talk about on noses. Maybe we can fix a couple of things that some of you are complaining about with your noses. I get emails and people ask me questions, so I'll try to answer a couple of those here. And again, in the corners, definitely make those deep. I'm using the Dremel here. If you're using a knife, you would do it with your knife, but definitely get the corners of your eye mouths there nice and deep. And again, you see over here those little bags? If you look at the sides of his face now, he's going to have just a little bit of shadow. It'll start thinning out and it'll give him a different look. Let's try to take some of this down here. I could be using a bigger bit for this, but I'm going to use what I got in my hand, because he's definitely square at the bottom, and the back is still need to be cut flat also. Okay. Let's shave up to that lip a little bit. I'll probably get a bigger tool out and put some nice deep grooves so we can run some beard hair in here. Right now I'm just kind of rounding this over a little bit, get everything to transition a little bit nicer when we start adding the hair. And I'm definitely going to take that sharp corner off and probably go all the way to the bottom on this carving. Boy, I really like this wood though. It's got the same kind of color as cottonwood bark. A little bit different. It's a nice tawny tannish red color. Definitely nice wood. Let's get a couple of tufts of hair started coming down here for now, while I got this bit in my hand. And we'll smooth over a little bit more up there. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Let's brush him off. Get some of this into the dust collector and off the table. Yeah, I got a feeling when I sand this is going to come out really nice. It won't take much sanding to smooth all this over. Let's get our marker here. And we'll just see. Let's see here. I'm debating on whether to give him some hair. Maybe right here. I'm not sure yet. If I don't like it, I'll just cut that off. It's not going to be a biggie. And we'll just make it a hat at the top. We'll see. We'll see what I feel like doing there. And down on the side here, this will be hair. We'll probably deepen these lines here. And we'll run some strands down. And again, when I do hair, like I said, I think of hair in groups. So think of making groups, not every individual hair, and then you can break up those groups into small tufts of hair and then individual hairs later, with your V-tool or other things, you know, your banners or whatever, or Dremel bits. I'm a little bit out of the camera here on the bottom, but I'll hold it up so you can see it. I'm just giving myself guidelines, basically. I get an idea about where I want to run these tufts of hair. So See, that's what I did at the bottom there. I just made some points. And that'll be a good start for what I want to do next, which is get the Fordham out with a big ball, and we're going to try and make some gullies in there so we can add our hair. See how that just snaps that handpiece right into the Fordham, and you can just change hand pieces. They pop right off. You keep your bit that you want to use in them, and you can snap another one right on and you're good to go. That's what's nice about the Fordham. Plus the Fordham, you can put these big 1/4-inch bits in and 1/4-inch shank bits, and you're golden. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this big ball, saber-tooth ball, 1/4-inch shank, and we're going to try and get some of this point off and lower the bottom of a lot of this. It's a little too high, so I'm switching to a bigger bit. And I like to create these gullies that I can make my tufts of hair out of. Okay. Like I said, those were just guidelines I put on for now, but that's the basic idea of the way I'm going to carve the beard. So if I carve these lines off, don't get all stressed out. I'm definitely not going to. It just kind of gives me an idea where I want to go with the carving as it progresses. And it seems like we got a hard spot down here. Yeah, there seems to be a knot down in this stuff, because this is a pretty aggressive bit. That's alright, it'll take it. I got a little bit of chatter going on, but we'll work through it. It's a good thing I got this big aggressive bit on. This first spot I hit in this wood that actually is kind of hard. But there's a knot down there, so that's to be expected. I'm going to take some of the wood out here, trying to lower it. We want our mustache, of course, to stand out, so I'm going to take some wood out there on the side of it, at the bottom of it. Come up here. Let's see, left enough room, just really get some chatter there. When the bit chatters, it actually makes my camera shake. That's okay. As long as it's taking the wood off. It can be hard. I still like this wood. Now and then you'll get that. You'll get a piece or a spot in your wood where it's, you know, it's just going to be tougher than most of the other parts. But this bit right here works pretty good on almost any wood, so it'll handle it. The Fordham also isn't designed to go really fast. It definitely doesn't spin as quick as the Dremel, so you will get that chatter if you're pushing too hard. But I have to push hard here because there's a knot. And I'll just let it grind its way through and get the effect that I want. And those gullies that I'm making, those will be separate tufts, okay? Different groups of hair. And we'll try to undercut at the bottom there and make them stick out a little at the bottom, so his beard kind of flares out, you know, in both directions is the way he's gonna look when he's done. If I can get that bad spot right there, there's a wicked knot on the other side, and right here on this side, right there, that's a tough spot. The only one really on this whole piece. This is nice. I run into pieces that are full of spots like that. It makes them a lot harder to carve. That's why you need bigger bits sometimes. And that's what Fordhams are for. Sorry about the chatter. This process, I'm only going to use this ball for so long until I get the depth that I want. And basically the idea here is to create some little gullies, smooth it over, and give me a smooth carving surface that's different depths that I can run some other bits through or my hand tools, and we'll create some nice decent hair on there. Here we're getting the fan off on the sides here by carving a little underneath and around the back. We can always switch bits. We'll use our hand tools to really make that stick out. Just right down here in this spot though, that's tough. Just doing some shaping. And that's giving us the dimensions of everything, and kind of getting it in our head about where we want to go with this guy and what we want to do with his hair. And then we can make all that a lot deeper, and we'll detail the hair in once we get exactly where we want to go with it. I'm going to take a little bit out here because I want that heat to kind of sink in and flow into the beard. Same on the other side. Of course, for the most part, whatever you do to one side, go right over to the other side and do it on that side also. You don't want to go too nuts and go too far in your carving, and then you forgot what you did, and then it looks totally different on the other side. So if I take wood out over here, I'm going to, go right back to the other side and check it, and then try to do the same on that side, so you have the same type of cut on the other side. So that way both of the sides of his cheeks right here, underneath them there's some wood taken off, okay? I'm going to smooth over his mustache. Again, I don't like any hard edges on anything, especially once you start using your hand tools. It's always a good thing to have everything smoothed down first, kind of round it over a little bit. Those hard edges we want to get rid of, so we get a nice flow with the hair, or especially with hair. It'll just make it a lot easier and a nicer look when we actually put our detail in. Okay, still don't know what I'm going to do with that forehead or the hat here. This forehead, I'm not sure if I'm going to leave that or if I'm going to put hair there. I might just take that hair off. We'll see. Still got to make the back flat. Let's brush him off, see where we're at. I think I'll like that. That'll give me enough to play with as far as hair goes. The hat, I might use my knife on that. And we'll just give him a simple wizard hat. Now right here I'm going to switch to a cylinder bit. I'll take this down a little bit. Again, this is another 1/4 inch shank bit. This is a Typhoon bit. It's a medium grit. Let me zoom out a little so I'm not getting out of the camera all the time for you. By the way, that cut on my right hand, on my knuckle, that's not from wood carving. That's from my cat. I was playing with him earlier, and he got me good. He gets a little out of hand and starts getting out of control. So, that's not from wood carving, folks. Now this bit I'm going to use to try and take some of this down, because we want his hat. If he's going to be a wizard, of course it's going to have to come to somewhat of a point. And if this was the coarse bit, it would take it down a lot more, but that's okay. It'll work fine for what I want it for. I can round the edges in the back and start getting some of the wood off of this. So that sharp edge there in the back. So even big bits like this, gonna have a tough time in certain parts of your wood, depending on how the grain changes, depending on the hardness of the wood. But that's okay. This one don't work, I can always go back to my knife. The knife will always work, and I can always switch bits again. But this will work. A little bit at a time, I'll whittle this down. I might have to actually take it sideways on this piece when the grain starts getting close together at the top there. That's where it starts getting tough. Now, I'm not going to give him too pointy of a hat, and I'm not going to bend the tip over or anything. We're just going to kind of bring it to a point and make his hat simple. And again, this is going to be a giveaway piece. I'm going to try and make it pretty decent for the giveaway. And at the same time, we're not going to go nuts and spend 4 hours on it. I've actually done that with some carvings. Even carvings that are just this small, It all depends on how realistic you want to make it, how nice you want to make it. But with the time we're going to put in on this, making the video, this might be a two-part series because it'll be fairly long, because I am going to carve him up kind of decent and try to throw more tips in for you guys. So definitely make sure you watch part 2, because that'll be a lot of detail. And this back here, I'm going to have to, I might have to get a different tool for the back, because I can't really reach this bit all the way across. So that's why I'm going kind of diagonal here. I mean, it'll take some down and break it up for me, but I think I'm going to end up using a different bit on the back. Yeah, see, that's about all the reach I got there. If I could go all the way across, that would be nice. But it's not going to happen with this little bit. As far as the length of the bit goes, I'm talking about. Okay? And all that I'll have to get rounded over and cleaned off. Or at least flat, so if somebody wants to hang him on the wall. I could even leave the bottom flat here and make him a little stand-up wizard. I'll just have to see how it goes. I think I like the idea of him standing up though. Since he's going to have a rounded hat. This wood is definitely carving nice. I mean, it looks like it's giving me a hard time, but it is carving nice. That's just trying to get the back clean. Now the edge of this bit, since it's a cylinder bit, will almost make like a V cut when I run it down and I want to undercut things. For instance, some of those tufts of hair that we're putting in here. Yeah, we had those grooves we made with the big ball. Now I can take this bit and I can undercut them and they'll pop a little bit more. I could even add all the little hairs with this bit just using the edge, even though it's such a big bit. And again, just enough shadow so it starts breaking that apart. Don't have to go too crazy. I like to take a little bit of wood off at a time, that way, because, again, this is wood carving. I could go nuts and make them really deep right from the beginning if I want, but the thing is, once I take it off, it's awful hard to put it back on. So, a little bit at a time is the best way to go. And then we can always add more detail later, or change our design and we still have plenty of wood. You know? So I don't like to take wood off where I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. Since I'm not using any design or pattern for any carvings. You know, that's different. Just right here. I want to see what's going to come off when I make my cut, and then how to adjust it for my next cut. If I take too much off in the beginning, I might have wanted to do something else with that little piece that was sticking in, you know? So we're going to go with something like that. Smooth it over a little bit by holding a bit flat and a light touch. And where I want shadow, I'll undercut. Try and get those cheeks just a little bit more dug in there. There we go. Separate those tufts of hair coming off of the cheeks. Separate those from the mustache. And I could even start some hair right here using this bit. Take some wood off there. And let's go up to his forehead. I guess we'll just take that hair and we'll just make that forehead. We'll just do the hat, I guess. I'm just going to smooth that over. It was a thought, but like I said, my thoughts change. If I would have started cutting that right away and I didn't want it there, then I would have had a whole bunch of time wasted and something that I didn't want in the first place. So I'll draw it before I carve it and then see how it progresses. Okay, he's not looking too bad. I could still make his forehead go back a little bit more, dig his nose between his eyebrows a little more if I want it deeper, but depends on how he looks. Let's take the hard edge off the hat here. And I'll probably end up working on this hat with my knife, like I said. And I think we'll end up with a decent wizard out of this. Should be good enough for a nice giveaway prize. And we'll try to cover more tips as we go, like I said. And it's not looking too bad.